Hello.
Hi.
Pritti in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome everyone to the Feel Inspired podcast. I'm, of course, Amit Sodha, your holistic love coach, and this is my coaching client, Pritti, and this is session 3. So this will be episode 67, I think, of the podcast. Actually, I think I've lost track of numbers completely now.
It's all right. I can't remember them either.
I know, right?
The only one you need to remember is mine, so the rest of them count, okay?
Yeah, no one else's counts, don't worry. Just a reminder as well, you can get hold of your Spark Conversations cards from the website sparkconversations.shop. And these are a great aid, not only for just day-to-day with your friends, your family, your loved ones, but perfect for dating as well. And in fact, we're going to kind of do this. So actually, I was hosting a singles event on Thursday night in Leicester. And so I did a speed date with a twist, and we were using these cards. And so every time everyone switched partner, this is the question. I picked a question, and they all asked each other. So time for you now to say stop.
Stop.
All right, cool. Let's go for this one. Okay. If you were a fictional character, what would be your catchphrase?
If I was a fictional character. Okay, I think mine would be anything is possible.
Ooh, I like that one.
Because
I like
it genuinely is.
Yeah.
And I think it rolls on from the conversation we were just having a little while ago, before we came on here. And, because I do believe, and I think it's got to do more with my charity as well. Yeah. Where I help make the wishes of children with life-limiting or terminal illnesses come true. And it sort of is dream big, let us worry about it, anything is possible. And, why can't anything be possible?
Yeah.
We just have to keep believing, taking the steps towards it, even if they're little steps, just keep moving towards it. And enjoy the journey.
Oh, I love that. I actually thought it might be something revolved around colour as well, actually.
Yes.
The colour of money is my catchphrase. Show me the colour of your money.
No, see, I wouldn't relate colour with money, but I would say
of course.
everybody needs colour in their life.
Yeah.
And it brings so much joy.
Yeah, it does.
And I think, interestingly, someone said to me, what one thing could you not be without? And I was sitting there, I was like, it took me a while. And I was going, I don't know, because I'm not materialistic in that sense. I am sentimental, but not materialistic. And then someone said, I think you just have to be your colourful personality. And I went, hell yes.
Yeah.
So I went, that encompasses my colour, as well as me, who I am, my vibrancy. So I was like, actually, that works quite well.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Let's just do a quick recap as well for all the people out there who just maybe are new to this, maybe you're seeing this as your first episode, but basically Pritti is single, she's my coaching client, and we're putting her out there to obviously get coaching from me, but also you never know, someone sees this and sees Pritti. I mean, just look at the flower in her hair. I mean, that is just
fab,
incredible. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a beautiful little touch as well, especially for camera. You're going to look stunning. But to all the single guys out there, if you like Pritti, if you like the look of Pritti, you like the sound of Pritti, you love her colourful personality, then reach out. Why not?
Well, I'm sending out love vibes. I have my heart, necklace, and my heart's on my dress with pink and orange. I thought, why not?
Why not? Why not? And to this day, I've yet to see this woman in that colour. Like I said, I was wearing colours all week until today, and I thought, let me just put, it's a bit grey outside, let me just put a bit of grey on and stuff, and then
And I said to you that's even more reason to wear colour when it's grey.
It's true, actually. It's very true. You're my colour coach.
I am. Happily do it.
So, God, we were just saying as well, it's been since March since we last spoke.
I know, it's been a while, hasn't it? Well, to be honest, since then I'm trying to think, what have I been doing? I took a break. I think that's what I said to you last time. I was close to that point where I was like, actually, things aren't quite working for me. I've been on a few dating apps. It just was not working. So I was just like, I need a bit of a break. Took some time out for me. And that's been good, actually. And then, interestingly, one of the girls from your group, Connect Asian group, she's left now because she's met someone.
Oh.
And she's happened to have met someone in my hometown. Well, not my hometown, sorry, where I live now, because my hometown's Wembley, but where I live in Bedford. So she reached out and said, honestly, I love your personality. I think you're a great person. I really hope you find someone soon. She was like, can we meet up? Yeah. And, I'd love to have a chat with you. So we did. And
she met someone from the group as well?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Oh, so, off camera, you can tell me later.
No, hang on. Was he on the... Oh, hang on. No, I can't remember. Hang on. Because she met him one way and then she connected with him again of something else. But it was a very long process. It was the long game.
Yeah.
So she was just like, well, I'm going to be moving to Bedford because they're moving in together. So it was so exciting. And I think because we were both similar ages, and and similar parts of our journey. She was like, I want to meet you. I want to tell you that not to give up hope. And I was like, oh my God, I love this. We weren't quite similar ages, but similar paths in our lives. And it was really nice to meet up with her. And, and she said to me, she goes, I need you to be more open. I was like, okay, well, what does that mean? She goes, get rid of your tick list. And I went, I don't have a tick list. And she was like, oh, okay. And I said, no, I will connect with most people. I go with the conversation, how it flows. And I said, but they just don't go very far. And she goes, right, I need you to have more fun with it. And just, if you're connecting with guys, it's not quite going, just move on to the next one. Just keep trying. And then she goes, where someone is showing interest, follow that. And I said, yeah, I am. And I said, yeah, but how much chasing do you do? And at this point, I was telling her about how I'd actually been quite brave. I'd been on this Zoom call, and there happened to be a guy on there, and I thought, oh, he seems quite nice. So I looked up his handle on there, and I was interested in the work he did as well. So I reached out, thinking I potentially could be a client, but also I thought he was quite nice. So I reached out, we had a conversation, and then I just sort of silently at the end went, yeah, I'm very interested in what you do, genuinely am, and I could probably help you in some shape or form as well. And it could help me. But I said, I actually connected with you because I thought you were quite nice. And he was like, oh, didn't see that one coming. And he was like, I like people who are upfront. So I was like, great. We chatted for a while, then nothing happened. And then I was just like, oh, well, not meant to be. I left it. And then he persistently kept messaging me and I hadn't responded. So I was like, interesting. You've left it a while, a couple of months, just not messaged me at all. And then he had explained how he had a lot going on in his life. His mum had been unwell. So I think we could relate on that factor because my dad had been unwell. He's had a stroke, etc. about a year ago. So we went through that. But then we just ended up having these long conversations, which was good. But then I was like, well, are we going to meet up? Is something going to come out of this?
But did you use what I taught you to use?
Yeah, I tried to say it would be nice to meet up.
So what happens is, it's interesting you say that because...
Well, I got caught in the trap of I could relate to him on the journey we were both in with our parents.
Yeah.
And then I was like, this is turning more into a coaching session or turning into a friendship thing. Am I being friend zoned here?
Yeah. But the question is, are you friend zoning yourself? Because it's interesting that you kind of... see, I get where you're coming from and why you use that angle to connect in the first place, because it seems more indirect and more soft. Yeah. But the problem is, you can tell from his reaction, I didn't see that coming. And so, guys often react to this in the same way that women do. If a guy uses, a inadvertent technique to get closer to a woman, it will take her by surprise eventually, and she'll be like, oh, I feel a little bit like you were not being, you were being a bit disingenuous kind of thing. But that's not the main crux of it. And then obviously you mentioned it dragged on and stuff. And again, every time I tell women this, they always adjust it according to what they think they should say rather than what I've taught them to say. And honestly, every time a woman has tried my exact phrase, they are shocked beyond belief. So the phrase should be, if you were to ask me out now, I wouldn't say no. Yes. Or if you were to ask me out for coffee, I wouldn't say no.
Yeah, I think it sort of got there.
Yeah.
And bizarrely, he was just... No, because what had happened, communication stopped, then we had this long conversation on the phone. No, before that, he sent me a message, said, fancy going to the beach?
Yeah.
And I thought, we've never met, and you want to take me to the beach? And I said, well, actually, I've just come back from the beach, but hey.
Yeah.
And I said, well, no, I'm in Wembley visiting family. I have no swimming costume, and I haven't planned for a beach trip. And I was like, well, out of curiosity, which beach were you thinking of? So we had a conversation. I was like, no, it's too long, far the other way for me to drive home. But anyway, this conversation then led to, he was like, well, why don't we meet up? And he said, what are you doing next Friday? Mm-hmm. And it was very just spontaneous. And I went, actually nothing. And he goes, well, will you meet me in London at 6:30? I won't tell you what we're doing. Brilliant. I went, okay, fine, surprise, let's go with it. And he goes, you're up for it? I said, yeah, fine. I said, yes, let's go with it. Yeah. So I confirmed, and I then got there a bit early, had half a day to myself. It was lovely. Yeah. I went round to see some exhibitions. Then it rained that day, literally chucked it down with rain. But I was still determined. I was like, I'd worn a nice dress, I had a rain mac, I had an umbrella. I was armed. Anyway, so met him at the station, and he was like, didn't think you'd look didn't think he goes, you look lovely, but I didn't think you'd be dressed like this because of the weather. And I went, well, you said wear what's comfortable.
Yeah.
So I'm comfortable in this.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, you may not want to do what I thought we were going to do. I said, okay, well, why don't you tell me what we're going to do and then I'll decide whether I want to do it. I was like, you're making a decision for me without me knowing anything.
Yeah.
So he then went, okay, it wasn't meant to be raining and I didn't think you'd be so dressed up. I said, fine, now let's get to the point. And he went, I thought we'd go feed the homeless across the road on the station. I went, okay, that's a first. Okay. And I said, well, actually, I help another charity do that, but you went to know that. So I said, actually, it doesn't faze me. I said, right, come on, let's just do it. And he was like, it's raining. I went, yeah, I have a rain mac on. I have an umbrella. I think I can manage. Yeah. And he was like, are you really sure? And I went, yeah, come on, let's do it. And we actually had a really good time. Yeah. And the group of people we were with were like, I was just like, could you just go put my handbag somewhere? And I was like, I can't carry this and serve, move boxes, whatever. And I got lumbered with giving away mangoes, and there were like 9 crates of them. And the guy next to me went, you won't even get rid of 1 crate. And I went, really? Challenge, bring it on. Yeah. And this guy went, are you seriously challenging it? And he goes, yeah, I am. I go on then. I go on camera, I say yes. So he had filmed this bit. Yeah. So I didn't realise he was. And I was like, okay, fine. Within an hour and a bit, I got rid of 8 crates of mangoes. Nice. And the guy was like, I can't believe you've done this. And I went, yeah, I'm good. I said, I know what I'm capable of. And I said, I'm very good with people. And I said, plus I'm giving them away for free. And there were other people who needed food. So I said, it's a win-win. Who doesn't love a mango? But then at the end of it, we'd finished.
That should be your catchphrase. Who doesn't love a mango?
And it did stop raining for a little bit. And then they wanted to keep me. They were like, can you come back next week? And I went, no, I don't live here. And I was like, no, if I'm ever in London on a Friday night and I'm free, I'll come and join you guys. But he was like, no, that was the deal. He said to me, if you get rid of the mangoes, I'll buy you dinner. I said, no, you're buying me dinner anyway, right? And he laughed and he goes, all right, fair point. And I was like, actually, I deserve dinner after what I've done today. And so we did go out for a meal.
Nice.
We had a meal. We went out for food. He did pay very graciously, which was lovely. Well, I was only joking. I would have gone halves. And then that went a bit wrong because they got our order wrong. We ended up sitting there for, and then I had booked a train home. And I was like, Shay, we ain't got time for dessert. I need to get my train. Yeah. So we'd packed it. And bless him, he got me to the train station. And then as we were trying to get my train, I went, I'm not going to make it. I was like, we got to St Pancras and I was like, I've missed my train. So I was like, well, let's just go up and see if I can scan my ticket and get through. I was doing an Indian thing. Let's just see if it'll let me through the barriers. It did. So I was like, oh my God, I got through. And I said to the security guard, then I felt bad because I was like, he's walked me all the way to my where the train is, and I haven't even said goodbye, and I've walked through the barrier. So I said to him, can I go back out? And the guy went, why? And I said, well, I'm going to say bye to my friend. And he was like, oh, I'll let him through. He goes, don't worry. So he then waited with me for another 25 minutes while my train came.
Wow.
Which was actually really nice. So we ended up having another conversation. It was quite good. So I just thought, actually, there could be potential here. And he was like, well, I'd like to see you again. I said, well, I would too. So I thought, great. We'd arrange something else. Message to see if I got home. I did the same. And their messages were a bit quiet. Well, they were there, but they weren't as frequent. And then we had another conversation and he was like, do you want to go to the beach again? And I was like, no, I've already told you that's my birthday weekend and I'm already at the beach. You're welcome to join us, but I'm miles away from where you are. And then it just went a bit strange because he knew it was my birthday. I wasn't expecting anything. I was expecting a message to say happy birthday. Didn't WhatsApp me. And I thought, how strange. He then messaged me on my LinkedIn, right? On a random post, which I got an amazing post on my birthday. So he had tagged onto that and wrote, this is great news. By the way, happy birthday. So I didn't see it till later. So I replied back and I thought, why are you messaging me on here when you have my number? And then heard nothing.
Okay.
So there was radio silence for a whole week. And I thought, right, either something's happened or, I don't know, maybe he's not interested. So I thought I'd give a little prod. Yeah. So I knew his mum was coming out of hospital and there were issues there. So I messaged him and said, oh, just checking in, see how your mum is. And he went, oh, she's coming home tomorrow. And said, near enough got everything in place. I went, great. He didn't ask me how I was. He didn't ask me anything about myself. So I then left it because I thought, well, what am I supposed to do here? like I've been kind. I've asked about your mum, thought that might be the issue. Maybe I should have said thanks for the birthday message on LinkedIn or something, and but there was nothing. And then literally a couple of days ago, so bearing in mind my birthday was on the 12th of July, so from the 12th,
Happy belated birthday.
thank you. On the 9th, I think it was around a week later, I'd messaged him. So from the 19th of July till about a week ago, he then messaged me saying, he just talked about his mum, saying unfortunately she had another fall. I was like, okay. And then he just said, how are you? And I thought, what is this? What am I supposed to reply? So I haven't replied. And I just thought, I don't know. And I just didn't know what to do, because I was like, it's as if he then decides when he wants to come back into my life and wants to communicate. So I'm like, I haven't done anything.
Yeah. Okay.
So what do I do?
Yeah. All right. Lot to unpack there. I mean, it sounds wicked. Obviously, we were talking about, how you guys connected and
but the thing is, he was fine about how we connected, because I messaged him to say, look, the reason I connected was this, and he was like, look, I'll send you my profile. I go, here's mine. So we had that, and he was like, no, I'd like to continue our conversation. So it was all fine. Yeah. I even used your cards, and we did questions.
Oh, nice.
So that was all working fine, and so he was like, actually, he goes, I like the fact a woman would take charge, and the fact a woman would actually take the lead or even use her initiative or is more upfront. He goes, if you like someone, you like someone. I went, yeah. And he goes, not everybody's brave enough to do that. And he goes, I prefer someone who's a bit more honest. And I was like, well, so do I. But I just feel like it just goes through peaks and troughs. And I get we're all busy in our lives.
Can I point something else out as well? So forget the meeting bit then for a second.
Okay.
Like you mentioned with regards to the mango, should we say the mango incident of July 2024, whenever it was, right? Yeah. And it's fascinating to me that if you just look at your psychology for a second, as soon as someone challenges you to, bet you can't get rid of one crate, and there's you, and you're like, wow. Now, you got, what did you say? You got rid of 8 crates in just over an hour.
Yeah.
And then you look at the leverage that created within you to make that happen. And you did it. And I find that what you're describing is what so many people go through, right? Where we read so deep into the, for example, the gap between messages or what's happening, rather than it being a case of, okay. Now, again, I want us to be a little bit careful here, because I don't want you to think that you need to pick up the phone and call him and fix everything or sort everything out. It's not how it would work right now.
Okay.
But in those moments where it's things are potentially feeling like that maybe there's that gap or something is happening, it's always worth then, doing something a bit different. Whether it is just calling, whether it is actually just picking up the phone and having a conversation, or asking them, you know what? I'm on the other end of the phone.
Okay.
And so I think that, the two different mindsets I'm seeing here. No, obviously I'm not trying to nitpick or, like...
No. It's just really hard to work out what you're supposed to do, because I agree it shouldn't be a waiting game.
Yeah.
And life happens. And there was another guy I'd connected with, and we'd agreed to meet.
Yeah.
And unfortunately didn't hear from him. So again, I did the same thing. I reached out and I remembered a commonality. I remembered something he had said, so I reached out on that. But there was a different response there. And this guy came back and he went, I'm so sorry. I've been so ill. I've had COVID for like 10 days. And he was, I've never been this ill in my life. I've never had COVID. So I was like, fair enough. And he was like, but then he went on to go, by the way, happy birthday. How was your birthday? So I was like, great, thanks. So I, built in rapport, talked about, said, sorry, you're feeling unwell, explained what a lovely birthday I had. And I said, oh, do you still fancy meeting up? And then I got nothing. Then there was no response to my message. So I was like, right, what am I supposed to do here?
Yeah.
So whereas this one, okay, he has responded again. But a part of me feels as if it's always, there's a gap, then he'll message. And it's as if I just pop into mine, and then it will be for a little while, and then it stops again. I'm like, okay, well, what is this? But I get what you're saying. Am I reading too much into this? And he probably, I know he's got a lot on his plate with his mum. and I've sort of been there myself. But it just feels like, I think it just feels a bit like I'm doing the. So it feels like it's me.
This is the next bit I was going to get to as well. You mentioned obviously that
because he didn't message on my birthday.
Yeah.
Right, and there was a gap from there. And then if I hadn't messaged him, would he have messaged me?
Yeah. So
it's like
I know, and to anyone watching this, I know it can feel going very granular, but it's important to understand certain things and the thought process behind it, what it means to the other person, the way it comes across. So there was another thing that you said I thought we'd just touch upon. So you mentioned that obviously when he did wait with you, and he even messaged to check when you got home, and you kind of did the same thing as well, right? So when he messaged you to say, did you get home safe and everything, kind of, did you say, yeah, I did? What about you? Did you get home safe? Right? Okay, cool. And just to reiterate, that's not your job. He's obviously home safe because he's messaged you, right?
I know, but it felt like out of kindness. If someone's asked you, it was like, because for me, I was grateful that you had taken the time and the effort, because it wasn't going the same direction as him.
Yeah,
he didn't have to wait for me.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yes, okay, he lives in London. Okay, the other end of London, but I don't, and I have to get specific trains home.
So this is where the modern female masculine traits creep in.
Okay.
I feel like you have to reciprocate and do exactly what he's doing, kind of thing, and you don't. You genuinely don't.
Okay.
What he will feel is, if the conversation went a little bit different, you just said, oh, I really appreciate you checking up on me. That's such a, like a
nice
a
thing
kind
to do.
thing, so, it's a rare trait in men in these days, and I just want you to know I appreciate it. You don't have to say it back to him.
Okay.
That's not your job. In the man's mind, that's not your job. And this is, this is where obviously we're in a very strange place in modern society where gender roles are very confused, and all this is happening. But I think if we simplify it and just go back to how we used to do things, without it letting it harm our ego or thinking that we need to listen to what people are saying, we don't actually. We can just do it the old way, and it's so much easier.
Okay, go on then. What do I do next then?
So
we do it live. We'll do it together.
Yeah, we do it live. Absolutely. So remind me again. So with the gentleman you met up with, what was the last conversation again? What was the last exchange where he asked you about? Sorry, he told you about his mum, and he just ended with "How are you?"
Yes.
And that was a couple of days ago.
It was about, last week.
Last week, okay.
I also know, because I'm the kind of person, because I am genuinely a nice person, and I remember things. I'm a Cancerian. I remember everything near enough. Yeah. I know it was his birthday yesterday, and I was very conflicted to message. And then, to be honest, my day didn't turn out how it did. So I had a really busy day with family, doing stuff. So actually, I didn't get an opportunity, and I remember this morning, and I was like, it was his birthday yesterday.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, should I just message and say, did you have a nice birthday?
Yeah.
And leave it as that?
Yeah.
Or do I reply to his message? Because, see, I technically, if I've asked someone a question, I like when someone replies to my message, like asked what I've asked you. But then I know some people don't.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so look, there's no right or wrong way to do this as such. But again, I think to myself, okay, we're entering that territory where so much can get lost in translation over messages. And again, because we're in that state of mind, our energy is in a place of, should I do this? Should I do that? What's the right thing to do? We enter almost that game playing state.
Yes, and I don't like that.
Yeah, and no one does. No one really enjoys it. And this is the thing, is that, well, if we get to a point again where we start thinking about actually what's our intention here, what would we like to do, what's the relationship we would want to create and cultivate here, and then act from that place and then go from there. Like, for example, if forget relationship now, imagine just for a second, this is an old friend.
Okay.
And there's no politics in this friendship, but perhaps there's just been a bit of a gap. What would you normally do in this situation? Pick up the phone call?
I would have picked up the phone.
Yeah.
And just said, either I would have messaged and said, do you want a conversation? Or I would have just picked up the phone. Yeah. But the weird thing is, I did phone him once, just because I had an amazing day, and I just thought, do you know what, I fancy sharing it. So I rang him, he didn't answer. Then he messaged me and he said, is it urgent? And I was like, well, it defines what urgent is. And then I said, no, I go, no, it's not urgent. I just wanted to share some good news. So he then rang me and he was like, well, I was watching a film. Normally I don't like to be disturbed if I'm watching a film. I said, oh, okay, interesting thought process. And I said, oh, well, thanks for making an exception for me. I said, well, I'm well worth making an exception for.
Yeah, I love that.
So
yeah.
I
Brilliant.
actually did say
Yeah.
that. And he was like, well, go on then, what's your good news? So I shared my good news. And he goes, no, that's actually really good news. And then we just got chatting for a bit longer and I can't. And the conversation ended up being about half hour, 40 minutes. So he was like, it's never a quick conversation with you. I said, no, it isn't, because we can both talk. I go, we both talk a lot. And he goes, yeah, fair point, we do. I said, fine, I'll leave you to watch your film because obviously that's a bit more interesting. And he was like, no, I didn't say that. I said, no, it's fine. You carry on watching a film. I got things to do too. So I said, I just wanted to share. That was it. So that's where we had left it. And I think at the end of that, he had said to me he was planning to go away for his birthday. So I think he will be away this weekend. I don't know what had happened.
Yeah.
So, yes, maybe I just call on Monday and just say, just thought I'd ring.
Yeah, potentially. I think why not? Or leave a nice voice note if you want to. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to have a call to action at the end. It can do, and I think that's always a good thing. Like I said, there's no right or wrong answer here, but I think once we get into that state where we start overcomplicating it in our head, trying to think, what should I do, what shouldn't I do, what's the right thing to do here, that's where we get lost. And I think to myself nowadays, you sent me a beautiful voice note this week, right? Of course, I'm only a human being. I'm going to have the odd wobble here or two as well. And it's just completely normal. And, I've moved past it and I forgive myself. But it's really nice. It's just a sweet sentiment that you, in the purity of that moment, picked up the phone, sent me a voice note. And I think if we act with that level of purity, without any expectation of outcome, without kind of just thinking about, am I doing the right thing or anything like that, and even escaping this mentality of just the masculine, feminine for just a second.
Actually, I like that.
Yeah.
Because do you know what? I was having this conversation with someone else, and because I'd been to another dating event while I was here this weekend. God, it feels weekend. Yeah, it's Saturday today, isn't it? Yeah. So there was the date event, and my friend just went, do you want to come? And I went, do you know what? I'm in Wembley. Why not? I could tag team all of this in. I'm here anyway. And I went along, and it was interesting having this conversation with these people. And we were just saying how dating has become so much more different to when it was, when I dated a while ago, and I was like, it's become it is very much a throwaway society. In the sense that people are looking for the next best thing and they're not willing to put in a bit of effort or that time to get to know someone. And it is just, we'll just go on to the next. We'll see what's next. And people are sending so many messages, chatting to so many people. They can't remember who they're talking to. And then it's just, okay, we'll just let that one drop. We'll just carry on to the next. Who's next? And I'm like, well, actually, if you spent that bit of time to get to know someone, you'd actually realize there is potential. Yeah. But I also get you can't fall in love with potential. You have to see if that can be turned into something.
Definitely.
And if someone else is willing. But yeah, it does feel very different.
Yeah.
And I think with all the online apps as well, and I'm very much a person who would like to meet someone more naturally and in a personable environment. I just think that's so much easier to connect.
Yeah.
And you do get more of your personality come out. But you're still in that mindset of, because I'd been to this event. I had a fairly good night. I had some really good conversations. There was a couple of guys I thought were quite nice. But it was interesting how some of the girls came up, we got chatting and they were like, I didn't get any numbers. Nobody asked for my number. But there was this expectation of a guy to ask them for their number. And I thought that was really interesting. And I thought, well, did you not give a number out yourself?
Yeah.
And they went, no.
Yeah.
I went, okay. And then there was this interesting vibe of some of the women going, well, why did she get 2 numbers and I didn't? And I'm like, okay, now this comparisonitis has kicked in.
Yep.
And I was just like, okay, I think it's time to leave. So I was just like, do you know what? I'm ready to go home. I'm good. And I did think about it and I realised I had been triggered. That I had heard other people going, I got numbers, I got this. And I felt a bit like, well, I didn't get anyone ask mine. And then I thought, well, is that? And then I thought about it and I went, actually, I'm okay with that because I had a good night anyway. I had come with the intention of, let's just have fun. Whatever happens, happens. Meet some nice people, great. If not, we'll have a girls' night or whatever happens. So to me, it was a good night anyway.
Yeah.
But I realised there was a seed there that had planted something. And then actually this morning I thought to myself, well, there were 2 guys that I thought maybe. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to message because I have their numbers.
Yeah.
Because in the group there were numbers. And I thought, well, what have I got to lose? So I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to leave a message.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm being more forward, but yes, I'm being more proactive. But also I was like, well, actually, I enjoyed our conversations. So I'm just going to leave a message and see whatever happens. If it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be. But I thought, why am I leaving my fate in someone else's hands?
Yeah.
And I thought, yes, it is the old-fashioned way of waiting for a guy to contact you and ask you. But I thought, well, the day and age we're in, it's different. And I thought, why can't we just say, well, actually, I liked you too? Or give that impression, exactly what you said, of saying, you know, if you were to ask me out, I wouldn't say no.
Yeah.
I had a great conversation, great evening.
Yeah.
You know, if you were to ask me out, I wouldn't say no, if that's how you felt. You know, I would be, you know, and I think I'll leave something along those lines.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've pretty much, you know, nailed it, what's happening right now. And it's quite funny, you talked about your singles event, and even the one I did in Leicester was quite interesting as well, because as I mentioned, we were doing that speed date with a twist where every time there was a rotation, I'd pick out one of the cards, the questions, and that would be the leading question they would go with. They could talk about whatever they want. They don't have to use it, but essentially it was that. And so one of the guys came up to me afterwards and he said, you know what, I love that. He goes, but as soon as you stopped, because I did the first sort of like 5, 6, 7, 8 or so, or 9, he goes, as soon as you stopped, people reverted back to asking like, what's your education?
Interview questions. Yeah.
And I was like, that's fascinating to me. It's so fascinating because I think to myself, like, that's the whole point, is to create the warm-up. You can ask different things. You realize that you don't have to go the usual route of, you know, asking all the boring stuff. And, you know, as you mentioned, you absolutely nailed it. That, yeah, of course, you know, you don't have to sit there thinking, why did anyone not approach me or ask my number? You can easily do the prompt, and it's very simple and it's very easy and it's very harmless, and it gets fantastic results for the most part. Did you get responses from those 2 guys?
I haven't messaged yet.
But you're going to?
I'm going to.
Great.
Because I decided that I woke up, and I think because it's been a busy couple of days for me, I've just had a lot on, but it was just me processing. And I just realised, because I've become a lot more aware about myself.
Yeah.
And I realised I'd been triggered, and I was stuck in that mentality of these girls. And I was going, but that's not me.
Yeah.
And I realised that I'm just following suit.
Yeah.
But I don't follow suit. I do what feels right for me. And it was exactly what you said just earlier, which was, if we take away everything and go back to the core, which is, what do you feel like doing?
Yeah.
And just go with that. Because when I messaged you, it was just pure, I felt something just going, this is pretty tough at the moment.
Yeah.
And this is not easy for you. And I just wanted you to know it was okay. And if you wanted to chat, I was there, had your back. And I just thought, I wasn't expecting a response. I just put it out there just for you to know that not everybody, it's not a dog eat dog world. And not everybody is here. It's not about fighting. And I could understand where you're coming from, because I feel we're very in tune in that way of, you know, we're more, what's the word I'm thinking? We're more spiritual people, and we are looking out for people. And it is about people. It's not about, you know, a numbers game. And you want to help as many people as you can. And you're giving guidance, you're providing a platform, you're providing support. And you're not going to please everyone. But it was, you know, but it's interesting to see how people react.
Yeah.
And I think it's the frustration of the dating world we're in, that people are getting frustrated. And I think that's what is coming out at the moment, is people are coming off apps, or they're feeling more deflated and then going, well, why should I put my profile out there if nobody else is?
Yeah,
Or
of course.
if there's not enough people, why should I bother?
And
or why should I do it every week?
Isn't that kind of the part of the problem in the world, in the sense, if you look at that in the wider context, and this is, I guess, the message I'm trying to convey, is that if we all take that tit for tat attitude, then everyone ends up sinking further and further down that, you know, that chasm. And this is my point, that if you're the outlier, if you're the circuit breaker, if you're the one who doesn't succumb to that attitude, eventually people will follow suit. They always do, because they'll look, as you've seen as well, that you know, you mentioned it as well, that people will look to see what other people are doing and follow suit. And my thing is, how do we make that idea of people putting themselves out there and not giving a crap and just enjoying the process, make that the new cool, so that people feel like, I'm going to do it anyway.
Because don't get me wrong, we've all been there. We've all been rejected.
Yeah.
We all don't get responses. We've all been ghosted. And we just have to keep trying, because otherwise if we just keep being put off by that one element, and it does make you feel, you know, because reading some of the messages, people were going, well, you know, what one guy had put in the group, he said, you know, I took the bold step of doing this. And I went, I'm really proud of you. And I put something along those lines to say, well done you. And I just thought, why aren't we bigging each other up? Why aren't we saying to each other, let's help each other and say, because subconsciously I was like, you joined this group for a reason, because you wanted to step out your comfort zone. You want to find someone. You want to share your profile. Yes, you're a tad afraid, but you wouldn't have joined if you didn't want to do it. So yes, it's taken that little push, but you've done it. And what has happened? Is it any worse off than you doing nothing? No. So it was just giving people that. And, you know, even when someone put the lame excuse of, I haven't got time to put my profile. And me and someone else put, well, why don't you just copy and paste it? Because I've got mine in my notes. And I said, I literally copy and paste it, and I just change my photographs and I add them differently. That's what I do. And I was like, is that any different to you replying to a message to a friend? So I was like, actually, that excuse doesn't work either. Because I was like, if you're on this group, why aren't you putting in a bit of effort? Because why do you want to be a silent person? Why aren't you saying, this is who I am, this is me, I'm proud of me? Because we are all amazing just the way we are. Bruno Mars sums that up really well. I think he does.
He does.
And I think The Greatest Showman, you know, this is me. I think we need to stand in that and go, I'm not going to meet everybody's criteria. I'm not going to attract and connect with everyone, but I'm not here to. And this is who I am. But it's, if you don't put yourself out there, how is anyone going to know you're there? Because some profiles, there's no photographs, there's no names. So you're like, come on, people, work with us. Help all of us as well as yourself. And if we could, you know, it's building that community of support, which I think you've done really well. And I think you should be really proud of that. And, you know, I enjoy interacting on there. Sometimes I don't always have the time, you know, stuff happens in life, or it's been really busy with the charity side. But where I can with the conversations, I do enjoy it. And I feel it's nice to be able to connect with people and sort of help each other. And say, well, I've learnt this from here, I've learnt that from there. Because we all need that. And I think if we can all openly talk about, I've had a shit time. And that's why I was quite happy to come here and go, yeah, this happened to me. What am I supposed to do? Am I overthinking? Because a part of me was going, I'm overthinking this. But then another part of me going, but why do I do all the chasing? I don't want to do that either. And it was that fine line of, you know, let's just try again, see what happens. If I don't get anywhere, then maybe it's time to let that one go.
And that's okay. There is a point where you just let it go. There is a difference between letting it go and closing the door, though, I think. And that's an important distinction, is that there's no harm in leaving the door open. And not saying this has to be the end, but just saying when you're ready, or if you feel like you're more ready for this, or you know, maybe it is the thing with his mum in this instance, with this guy. Timing could be anything. But the one thing I will say is that even if you go with the purity of what you're feeling in that moment, just be mindful of what your role is best as, which is, don't take that masculine role. You're not there to ask him out to do all of those things. But it is a case of leaving that door open, prompting him, enabling him so that he can take that step. But as soon as you mentioned as well, a bit I missed earlier as well, where you said to the guy as well, or you was it the second one as well? Do you want to meet up? I think you said, right? Should we meet up? And then he never nothing back, right? And I know it's a very subtle difference, and everyone's like, I'm sure that's the same thing, and it's not. It really is not quite the same thing. It's just those words, just translating those few simple words into, instead of saying, do you want to meet up? If you were to ask me out, I won't say no.
So shall I do another voice now?
What, to that same guy?
Yeah. Say, hope you're feeling better after COVID.
Yeah, why not?
And just say, if you were asked me out for a coffee, I wouldn't say no.
Yeah,
if you fancy some fresh air and you fancy a coffee, I wouldn't say no to
Yeah,
meeting up.
yeah. So if you wanted to meet me, if you would, and this is where I'd say again, you got to be really, really like just that slight adjustment. If you wanted to meet me for a coffee, now that you're feeling better, if you're feeling better, I wouldn't say no.
Okay.
And so it's just letting him know that you're enabling him almost to step into that mode. And like I said, it's such a subconscious thing.
Okay.
It's such a very subtle thing.
I think because all of us have got to that point of frustration.
Yeah.
And we're just like, well, do you want to meet up? Do you want to do something? Shall we see what happens here?
Yeah.
So we're all in this.
It's like that meme. Are we doing this?
Yeah. And it does feel like that because you just feel like going, I don't want to play games.
Yeah.
I just want to connect with someone, just have a conversation, see where it goes.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. I get it because, you know, your frustration is born out of the guy not taking action.
Yeah.
His frustration is born out of, do I do this or do I not? Am I gonna, you know, am I gonna get, you know, seen as harassing you and all this kind of, and you know, again, I see both sides of what's happening in the thought process, and I see what's going on. And you know, the event I had on Thursday, some lovely guys there, such lovely guys, and all they just need is that little push and just seeing something different. So someone introduced me to an Instagram account where a guy is quite brazen. He goes up and chats to girls. And I watched one of his videos, and what I loved about it is his humor when he's doing this stuff, and mine are absolutely on par. That's exactly the kind of jokes I would crack with the girls, what I would say, how I'd do it. And it was just great to see.
You guys need to team up.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm gonna have to reach out to him.
I think you should.
Yeah, why not? So, but it was just really cool to see that, and just see, like, you know, there's guys out there who are showing guys like this is how you do it. And once you just kind of step outside your comfort zone, it doesn't have to be sleazy. The approach doesn't have to be sleazy. It doesn't have to be construed in the wrong way when you do it in a certain way. When you do it in a certain way,
do you know what might be worth you doing?
Oh yeah.
Right, God. Let's do this because I ain't going to remember all these lines, right?
Yeah.
What if you write them out for us?
Well, hold that thought because it is all coming in my book in the future. So yeah, it's all going to be there. And even
No, but I'm just thinking a few
cheat sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just want to set the few lines about how to ask someone out.
Yeah.
How does a girl ask a guy without saying, let's do this.
Yeah.
Do you want to meet for a drink? Because we do it because we're in that point of going, well, I don't want to sit here wasting my life. I want to get on with my life. I am getting on with my life. I have a great time. But I would like someone to share it with. So how do you ask in a way where we're not pushing or making them feel as if we've made the decision for them?
Yeah.
So it's how do you ask someone out? How do you reconnect with someone where it's gone a bit quiet?
Yeah.
So what? Because you've raised a couple of really good lines that we could all use, and I just think why not put them at the end of this video and go, here you go, here's the lines to use.
It's a great idea. I'll add it into the text on YouTube and just put it there as well.
And just say, look, whenever you're a bit stuck, try these two.
See, you're not just a pretty face, are you? You're quite useful to have around, actually.
I've heard that a lot. Okay.
I love it. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. And it is, you know, it is.
We could even encourage people to say, why not feedback?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us what happened. Even whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. Just tell us what happened. Share, because we can all learn from each other's experiences. And we can build each other's confidences.
Definitely. And, you know, did you see, I don't know if you saw it or not on the Facebook group, on the Connect Asian Facebook group. So someone put up an anonymous post about a guy that she'd been speaking to in Manchester. And it'd been going on for several months. We're talking at least 3 months. I can't remember the exact amount of time, but we're talking months here. And she was saying that he doesn't want to meet up yet because he wants to get her to know her. And they'd only had one phone call as well. So he wanted to get to know her over messages. And so she asked the question, am I wasting my time? And obviously, emphatically, I was the first one to comment. And emphatically, yes, he's wasting your time.
Yeah.
But again, I kind of put the message up and said to her, this is what you need to send to him. But 3 months is far too, or whatever it was, you know, might have been longer, far too long. If you're not meeting someone within a week or two, it's too long.
Yeah.
It is actually too long. Again, it doesn't mean you close the door. It just means that you open the door to others. And again, you're not, and this is the difference between what you're saying. You're not discarding them either. You're saying, I'm happy to meet up, ready when you are. You just tell me when you want to meet. And then in the meantime, you're still meeting other people at the same time
because
as well.
the thing is, the connection you meet the connection you have messaging someone to talking to on the phone and meeting them in person are 3 different connections.
Yeah.
And I've experienced all 3. I've had amazing conversations, and I could have like an hour-long conversation. And you're like, oh my God, this person feels exactly right for me. But when we've met in person, the synergies and the way it goes, it's like, actually, no, this isn't quite like, it was like 2 different people.
Yeah, definitely.
And I get people can be nervous as well. And that's where, I'm very much sometimes going, go for a second date. Because that person, you could both be very nervous, not sure, whatever. And it is worth going for that second date. But sometimes that energy is very, very different. And it's like, well, actually, you do need to meet. I agree. And it is saying, well, why are we waiting so long? What is going on? And okay, things do happen in life, but we can always make time.
Yeah.
And you're right. I need to do more of that, where I've done a couple of messages, and then I need to say, can we have a phone call? Can we do a video call? Can we meet?
Yeah.
And process that a bit quicker.
Yeah.
Because, but there's also another. I had this very weird. It was on Hinge. I matched with this guy. Well, he matched with me, sent me a like or whatever, and I thought, go on, do you know what? I'm going to give this guy. Not my usual type, but I'm going to give this guy. And so I was thinking outside the box, and he messaged me at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Right. I'd already gone to bed, right? And then some of us have to go to sleep and wake up, got work to do. And I saw it when I woke up in the morning, and I thought, got a really busy morning, I'll message in my lunch break. Right. So I knew I was going to message, I'd left it there because the phone rang. So something disrupted me. And all of a sudden there was like 5 messages come through. You're obviously not interested. You haven't replied to my messages. You didn't reply to my message last night. And I was like, you messaged me at 11 something. I've gone to bed. Then he was like, well, you haven't replied this morning. And I was like, that was an hour ago you messaged me. And I was like, seriously? And then it went on to go, well, is your profile real? Are you a fake? Because your profile's not been verified. And I was like, what the hell? And I was like, I've got work to do. So I just discarded the phone, waited till lunchtime, looked at my phone, and I went, okay, thanks for letting me know my profile is not verified. So I went and checked that. It was because I had changed my photographs. No idea it did that on Hinge. So I learned something. But then I left a voice note to this guy, and I said, right, firstly, I'm going to say thank you very much for connecting with me, but I do not appreciate being hounded. I said, you sent me a message at 11 something. I was in bed. You sent me another message early hours this morning. I've got up. I'm working. I said, I had all intention of replying, but you need to give someone at least 24 hours to respond before you start going, you're not real. You don't want to take this any further, all this. And I was like, you're putting people off. This is not nice. I feel hounded. And I said, but thank you for letting me know about my profile not being verified. I've learned something new, realised it was because of my photos. And I said, look, I had all intention of replying, just needed a bit of breathing space. And I had a lot to get through this morning. He then came back and went, so sorry, didn't mean to offend. I've just met a lot of people who waste time on here. So I thought, fair enough. And he was like, look, I've read your profile again, and I note that you prefer to have a conversation. I went, okay, this guy's trying to get brownie points, fine. I said, okay, happy to have a conversation. I just said, because this message had come on Thursday evening, I said to him, my next couple of days, my weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, was so busy. And I said, look, realistically, I'm not going to be able to talk to you till Monday. If I can during the weekend, I will try. But if I'm being really honest, I have such a jam-packed weekend, I can't squeeze it in. His response was, well, I'm very disappointed. And he said, well, I don't think you're taking this seriously. So you want me to wait till Monday to talk to you? And I'm like, so I then replied back and I said, look, it may sound of being harsh, but I said, we've only just connected. I have a life. I have things already planned. And I said, I'm going out on Friday. I've got charity stuff to do at the weekend. And then I've got a couple of evening things. I said, I don't want to squeeze in a conversation where I'm squeezing you in. I'd rather give you my full attention, which you're not going to get in if I'm giving you a random 5-10 minutes here or there. So I said, I'm just asking for you to be patient till Monday. This really isn't that hard. And then he came back and he wrote me all these messages, another step, like quite a few, and basically just said, well, you haven't got time to reply to messages. You're obviously far too busy, far not interested in making a connection or having a relationship. And he goes, well, I've decided to unmatch you. I was like,
nice.
wow. And I just thought to myself, I couldn't even reply because
Yeah.
I looked at the messages and it had been unmatched, so I couldn't reply. And I just thought, imagine if you're like this now, what would you be like in a relationship? You'd be like you're needy.
Yeah.
Like this is pure neediness. And I was just like, maybe I got away lightly here. This was a sign. I looked at it.
Yeah.
And I just didn't even think twice about it. I just moved on.
Yeah. So just to everyone out there as well, this idea when I tell people that, that a lot of couples I know, the strongest couples I know, always often, or should I say very often, start off their sentence with, they weren't my type. But okay, this is an example of what can also happen occasionally, but don't let that put you off dating someone outside your type as well, because honestly, that's often where the most beautiful things do happen. But that being said, that's a great example, by the way, and I've heard some very strange ones recently as well. In fact, I've got a feeling someone else messaged me about the same person, because the messages were very similar, and it was very quick after like just an hour or two.
Yeah, I was like, have you not got a life? Like, are you not working? Have you not got friends?
Yeah.
Not got family? Are you solely waiting for this one person in your life?
Yeah.
And a part of me is going, I'm not. Like, I'm continuing my life. I'm doing things. But I feel that gap of someone not in my life to share my life with. But equally, I'm not going to sit here waiting and let life go by.
Yeah.
I want to go do things and experience things and have fun. So that's what I go do.
Yeah.
And I love how my life will take me that way when I flow with it.
Yeah.
Because you just never know. And I am the kind of person who will just go for a walk and just see where that takes me.
Yeah.
And who I could connect with. And I've had the most beautiful days with friends, unplanned, because I've just met them.
Yeah. I know. For
Randomly
me, that's,
at a place. And I'm like going, wow, I didn't know you was going to see you today. I'm so glad. But I thought of you. I thought of two of my friends. They turned up. Then there was a whole group of us. And then we ended up at this natural, beautiful springs that we have, which I didn't even know we had in Bedford Way. And we ended up getting this lovely, spring water, walking in the water, walking in these fields. And then we just sat there for hours chatting, have these beautiful spiritual conversations. I've been out of my house for like 5-6 hours. I didn't even know where the day had gone.
Yeah.
I came home feeling so content. And I was like, that was my unplanned day.
Yeah. Some of the best days I have with my friends are the ones that are just unplanned, last minute, spur of the moment, meet up, and you just end up having a great time. I absolutely love that. There was one other thing I was going to say that slipped my mind. It will come back to me in a second. But it was interesting. There was another example of a couple on the WhatsApp group who both were... I did actually mention it on the group. I think this was probably about a month ago, where she complained about one thing and then he complained about her about something else. And then, it turned out, again, I can't remember the example. I'll try and dig it out, but it's so funny because they both ended up complaining about exactly the same thing, impatience. And I thought it was ironic. And I said, you know what, you two are perfectly matched. I think you should just get to know each other. Yeah. I don't know. I just said, look.
Because you did that recently with another two. I noticed that one.
Yeah.
Actually, I should have reminded him. Because I met him at the dating event again, and it was nice to see him. And I should have asked, I forgot. It was just, I'd driven down from Bedford. And it rained. And I
ironically, even that one as well, it's quite funny because what was her complaint? Do you remember? And I do. It was about age.
Yes.
Ageism. What's ironic is she rejected him because of his age.
Oh.
So to me, this is what I see happening a lot is that, even a few weeks back, there was another girl who complained about never meeting nice guys. And I called her out on it because I said, actually, no, that's not true, because I introduced you to someone lovely, but within 2 messages, you rejected him. You didn't even give it a chance to get to know this guy. Because I think you're both beautifully matched in so many different ways. Not only geographically, because you're right next to each other, you're both in the same field, you've got very similar personalities, but after 2 messages, she decided to reject him. And I had to call her out. I said, no, you see, this is the thing. This is where your perception is seeing one thing, but reality is something completely different.
Yeah, but there's something deeper there.
Oh, definitely.
She's repeating a pattern.
Absolutely.
Where that pattern is coming from, it would be interesting to know.
Exactly.
But it needs a lot more going into. But what did she say when you called her out? I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so there was a whole conversation about her. It was down to her intuition, and there was a whole discussion around that. And I was like, no, that's not your intuition. That's you not feeling a spark that you're looking for. You're looking for an instant feeling that you're not getting, and this is why you're rejecting him. That's the truth.
But we don't always get that. And I've connected with guys, but I know there's a pattern I've had with the last few I've dated, and that was they're not ready for commitment.
Yeah.
And I had seen that because I then realised my time's been wasted here, so I walked away.
Yeah.
I went, actually, do you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm walking away. Let me know if you change your mind. But one of them, we ended up staying friends. And we've actually remained really good friends. And bizarrely, I helped him because this was another ladies group I'm in, and they were looking for someone, and they were like, why don't we all just try and match each other? Are there any friends we know? And I thought, yeah, why not? So I said to him, I said, shall I put your photograph in this group? Do you want me to do this? And he was like, yeah, go for it. 2 women reached out and said to me, I'm interested. I've got 2 women want to connect with you. And I knew what he would do because I know what he's like. And I just went, I want you to at least send messages, and I want you to have a phone call with them before you reject them.
Yeah.
Right? And he was like, no, I won't do that. And I said, okay, fine. So I let it be. And it was exactly what he did.
Yeah.
He sent a couple of messages and he went, there was nothing interesting.
Yeah.
I go, did you spark a conversation? I went, well, they just ask, hi, how are you? I go, well, why don't you change the conversation?
Exactly.
And I said, well, why don't you talk to them? You're not going to get a vibe of someone if you don't even talk to them, because messaging doesn't give you much. And I don't like messaging. I'd rather leave a voice note because you get to hear more of that person. And he was like, no. And I said, you're still afraid of commitment. And he looked at me and he goes, maybe I am. I said, right, until you deal with that, I'm not connecting you with anyone else. And I go, now I feel bad because these 2 women were genuinely interested, looking for a relationship. And I said, well, I'm not going to tell them you're not interested. You're going to do that. And I'm not going to feel bad for it because you told me you were ready when actually you weren't. So he then sent them a response. And I left it as that because I thought to myself, well, you need to decide, are you ready to date or not? Because until you are, don't put yourself out there. Because
it's interesting
that's
in that
not
because
right.
and it's interesting that asking him that question. Okay, what's the picture of what you expect to happen? You expect her to just say, "Oh yes, I want you, and I must have you now." And people have these weird perceptions. Like I said, when the perception of what they want and reality differ, they immediately dismiss it, and they are so fixated on what they think should happen rather than what could happen. And then this is where a lot of the big challenges happen for so many people, and it just causes so many issues. But it's great to hear you say this as well. And I think that because you are such a powerful woman, and we do have this genuine issue where men do get intimidated by powerful women. Because what's interesting as well, so there's another lady I'm coaching at the moment, not through the podcast, she's a client of mine.
Okay.
So I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, but that very first session that we had, we've just had our second session, and she very much came across as the boss babe, right? Okay. And no, I had nothing to say about that. It's absolutely fine. But what's interesting though, someone from her past has resurfaced. And this second session, she is like a teenage girl where, and this guy they were in a relationship before, but it didn't work out.
Okay.
But he's resurfaced and he seems to have completely changed. Right. So obviously, we're doing this mindfully and we're doing it the right way. But she's now behaving like a little girl. Like a little girl, almost smitten, crush, confused.
She obviously really liked him.
She did, yeah, of course. I mean, and obviously it ended, a number of years ago. I'm not going to give too many details, but ended a number of years ago. He's resurfaced, and there seems to be a real genuine shift to this character, this individual, and so she's. Like I said, I wouldn't. Smitten is probably too strong a word. I think that she's at that pre-smitten stage where she's a little bit confused by his change and almost like wondering. But what it has brought out is this little innocent girl in her. And what I say to all guys is that it doesn't matter how much of a boss babe a woman is. When you make her feel like that feeling, she will turn into that little teenage girl again, and she will go into that mode, and she will become that kind of person to you where you don't have to be intimidated by what she does, who she is in front of you, through your energy, through your masculine energy. It will bring out that side of her. So this is why you shouldn't worry about it and not be scared of it, and not worry about what you see in the beginning, and and let it intimidate you in any way, shape or form, or make you feel
sometimes I even because of the way I am, I'm an empath, And I say it very openly. I am. I like to help others. It's engraved within my blood. I can't not do it, right? I naturally do it. It's not as if I do it for a reason. People will cross my path. I will just help. And that's who I am, right? I'm not expecting someone to give as much as I give, right? But I have previous in relationships. I remember one guy saying to me, I can't give as much as you give. I said, when did I ask you to?
Yeah.
I said, this is who I am. I'm not asking you to compete with me. I'm asking you to compliment me. And because of my charity work, they're like, we can't give to the level you give. I said, again, how am I asking you to do anything more than just be? I said, I'm explaining to you my passion, my joy, which is my charity, which I love and I love working on. I can talk about it, forever because that's how much I enjoy it. But I said, and I go, but where have I asked you to give as much as I'm giving? I said, I've chosen my life path. This is my purpose in my life, to do my charity. And I go, but you give in other ways. You help people in other ways. That does not diminish because I've set my life to do the work I want to do. Doesn't mean it's not a scale of you do this much and I do this much. I go, it's not a competition. I said, you help in other ways. I said, I don't know why some people look at it as a competition. And they were like, oh, you're just too nice because of the work I do. And I'm like, okay, maybe I am nice, but I'm like, I am, but it's just who I am. And this is the work I do. It's like, I'm not judging you for the job you do, but some people will judge me because of what I do as well, or what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, because they feel a bit intimidated. Oh, she's just too giving. And we don't reach that, you make me feel as I'm not as good as you. And I'm like, no, this is your issue, not mine. But it's interesting how the mindsets work sometimes. And I think I'm realizing more to go, no, I'm standing in me, in my power, to go, this is who I am, this is what I do. But equally, I'm not here to pressure or make anyone feel inferior, but it has made me learn that when I talk about what I do, I now bring in to say to other people, I just want to know what you do too. Tell me more about you. How do you help others? What do you do? I'm just intrigued, because it's not a competition. This is a pathway I've chosen. But I don't want you to feel as if you have to compete. And I sort of gently unfluff it, fluff it out a little bit so they get it. Because sometimes I just feel, and sometimes I will use words like, we all help each other in our own way. And we're all doing something. We just sometimes don't even realize. And we do it without realizing. Because there was a guy who I met on Thursday night and he was like, well, I don't do as much as you. I said, but you volunteer at a charity and you give up a certain amount of your time a week. He went, correct. I go, how is that not giving? I said, you're comparing it because this is my job. You're never going to reach that job.
Can I pause you for a second?
Yeah.
This is where you've got to be very careful. You're entering coaching mode.
Yes, I realize I do that too.
It needs to stop.
Okay.
This needs to be a self-curbing thing, a self-regulation thing.
Okay.
And I get it. I get where it comes from. And like you said, it comes from a deep need to help. But the problem is that deep need to help is not helping you.
Okay.
In the beginning, especially in the early phases. After you've become committed to one another, it's a different story. But just be mindful of that.
Okay. No, but what am I supposed to say when guys say to me, oh, I can't give as much as you, or I don't?
Be playful. Funny answers. Go for the comedy route. Yeah, okay. Oh, just for you, I'm going to stop. For you, will you be the person I stop for? I don't know. I'm just, again, I'm spitballing off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But it's very easy to get into that serious mode and start talking. Yeah. And like I said, the danger zone is when you get into coaching, because you enter that level of mindset and energy where you almost become their therapist.
Yes.
And it cuts off attraction at the knees.
Yeah, and I don't want that. But you can see where it can be. And I look at that and I've been noticing and I've been going, I don't need to do all that.
Yeah.
Or I just have a conversation and I've been flipping stuff and changing it and say, well, let's talk about this or let's talk about that. So I try and move.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so as well. So it's just about in the initial stages, just being mindful of it as well. Because like you said, and you see it happen firsthand, immediately what happens is that because it's so early and they don't actually know you yet,
Yes.
the first reaction from a guy often is to compete, because that's
Yes,
our
competition. Yes.
nature.
Okay.
That's almost our nature. When we meet a guy and the same thing happens, at a gym, we see a guy lifting, curling, say 16 kg, a guy's natural reaction is, oh, let me see if I could beat this guy, do 18 kg.
Yeah.
It's just so ingrained in who we are. It's not something we can turn off unless, again, they've had spiritual training or whatever. But that's the male mindset, essentially.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, introduce what you do. You don't have to go into all the detail. That can come with time. But also as well, when, you find yourself in that situation. But so don't coach them into it. You don't need to do that, and just say, okay, just do it. I know I don't do that much. Even just play it down just a little bit, just for a very short period of time. No, I don't do that much. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. Maybe I'm just tooting my own horn. And I don't know. Have some fun with it, whatever. But just escape that mindset of needing to coach the other person.
Okay. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Because I think I've become mindful of it myself.
Yeah.
I had realised that because I was like, I have a knack where I can talk to people. It's not just men, it's women too. And I can find out information from them fairly easily just through conversation.
Yeah.
And they divulge. But then I think, has that opened up too early?
Yeah.
Have I opened them up too early with that information? For some people, it's absolutely fine where they're friends. But you're right, in a dating, it's actually probably not appropriate. It's not about hiding who you are. No.
It's just delayed. Delayed divulgence. There you go. I've created a new phrase now, delayed divulgence. And that's what it is, and even on a totally different subject matter in dating, it's like when someone, I've always said this as well from day one, when someone asks you about previous relationships, it's not that you'll hide anything.
No.
And you can tell people that use those words, listen, I'm not here to hide anything from you, but I just, when we get to know each other better, I'm happy to divulge that information. It's that idea that, like, I'm not here to talk about my ex. Like, that's it's one of these things, it's just,
I know, but then you end up in those the prescribed conversations, and it'll be, tell me a bit about, it'll asking about previous relationships. Yeah. So then I was like, okay, I know where you're going with this one. So I openly just go, yes, I have been married before. I have been divorced. Things didn't work out. And this is where I am now. So I don't really go into, sometimes I will just say we drifted apart.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And I don't really go into the ins and outs because I don't feel it's relevant.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes the guy wants to hear, has she been married before? Because when a guy hasn't been married, I suppose it's either way, each person. If you haven't been married before, then you're like, well, actually, or if you have been married before, it's like, well, they understand what it's like.
Yeah.
There is some commonality.
Yeah. So it's not about that, by the way, not that element. It's just more about, the level of detail.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's all. Yeah, of course, saying you've been married before, that's not fine. I was married. You just couldn't handle my level of sexiness, It's just... Again, just whatever funny answer comes to you, that's fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter what it is, but I consider that a healthy deflection.
Okay.
I know people, there's all sorts of things about using humor as a defense mechanism and all this kind of stuff in psychology we talk about, but no, I think there's a lot of positives to that as well. So I think that's a healthy deflection.
No, but I think you are right that if you're going to sit there talking about your ex, then how are you moving forward? You've gone back into the past.
Exactly.
And to me, I don't, because I have met guys where they're on one and it is being a bit like, my ex-wife did this, and I was like, oh God, okay, there's a lot here. And then they're like, was yours the same? And I was like, well, actually, I don't know. It's been a while now. I don't really think about it. And actually, there were bits. I could probably pick out a few. But to be honest, I've moved on. I've learned a lot. And sometimes it is saying, oh, that was a good question we had. Somebody had picked up something in the group and said, what have you learned from your previous relationships?
Yeah.
And I thought that was really good, actually, because I liked that one. Because I was like, that allowed you to talk a bit about the relationship, but it was more about twisting it to the positive and going, because you do learn from every experience. Yeah. So I thought that was a better way. Yeah. And maybe it's worth at that point going, rather than talk about previous relationships, why don't we just say, what do we learn from them?
Yeah.
and
I think
turning it that way.
Yeah, I think, in fact, that's a good way. That's a good healthy deflection there as
Yeah.
well. And just actually saying to them, even though even if they didn't ask you that question, it doesn't matter. You choose how you answer the question. Well, do you know what? I learned something from my previous relationship.
Yeah.
Previous marriage, whatever. Then you're not actually just directly saying, "Oh yes, I've married before," and asking and answering in the way that most people do, in the most routine way.
Robotic.
Yeah,
It does feel like that sometimes. I feel like you're on this conveyor belt on this machine, and it's like, okay, what's next?
You can actually say that literally. If someone says to you, so you've been married before. Do you know what I learned from my previous marriage? And it frazzles people's brains. I tell you. So we should round up because we have gone over. So what I'll say is that so there's two guys. All right. Do you know if I was in your shoes right now with the first guy, the one you've met, it would actually. This is what I would say if it was as a voice note. Hey, so and so. Do you know what? Sometimes I think it's very easy in this day and age for conversation, like especially when dating and everything, for everyone to, I don't know about you, if maybe you felt it as well, but felt like there was maybe a bit of awkwardness. I'm here just to send a voice note to end that. I just want you to know that, whatever's transpired over the last couple of messages and stuff, I've really enjoyed our company up until now. And I hope we can kind of, continue. And, firstly, of course, hope your mum is okay. Hope you had a beautiful birthday. And I hope we can continue without there feeling any sort of because I felt a little bit and let's just carry on. We don't need to let these little things get in the way of getting to know each other. And if you are in the same boat, same mindset, then if you were to ask me out again, I wouldn't say no.
Aye.
And then with the guy that you didn't meet in the end as well, you can do the same thing as well. I know we never got a chance to meet up, but I just want you to know if you were to ask me out, I wouldn't say no. The door's open, it's not closed, but you're not necessarily waiting for them, waiting for anything to happen.
Okay, I like that. Let's end on that, and then I'll give you an update on the next one.
Sweet. Love it. Love it. Well, you've been listening to the Feel Inspired podcast. And by the way, as well, the lovely guys at this studio, it is, of course, this is called the Media Lounge in Uxbridge, and they put a screen up as well. This is my latest blog post as well. The antidote to dating burnout is to make it fun, but check out that article. And there's loads more as well. As you scroll up, you'll find plenty of articles to help you on your dating journey. And, of course, videos all over my social media. But thank you, everyone, for joining us for this episode that's run over by a good... good 15 minutes. Yeah, it's fine. Sammy's cool. Anyway, thank you, everyone. And we'll see you in the next episode. And thank you to Pritti as well for being here today. And thank you for all your updates.
You're welcome.
And for gracing us with all these beautiful colours. I love it.
Well, someone's got to bring colour into it all the time. And
Next
bring
time,
a bit
that's
of
it.
joy. Next
Definitely.
time, that's it.
That's it.
If he turns up in a black shirt, we're not doing it,
Yeah,
okay?
she's going to tell me off.